How to make your car last more than 500,000 kilometers. Has your car already racked up a lot of miles, and you feel like it's going to break down at any moment? That's precisely the mistake many people make, thinking that a car dies from mileage, when in reality, it often dies from bad habits and neglected maintenance. In this video, I'm going to show you what's shortening your car's life without you even realizing it, and what you need to do if you want it to last more than 500,000 kilometers. First, stop thinking that the car dies on its own. If you want a car to last a very long time, there's one idea you have to get out of your head. That cars break down due to age, period. Of course, wear and tear exists. Of course, the quality of the model matters. But even AutoFacil makes it quite clear. Exceeding 500,000 kilometers isn't so unusual if you keep up with maintenance and drive sensibly. And on Reddit, in a thread asking what's most important for a car to last a very long time, the most frequent answers are precisely along these lines. Don't ignore small problems, change the oil regularly, and don't leave the car neglected or misused. In other words, the big mindset shift is this. A car's longevity is built on discipline, not luck. Habit 1. Don't gamble with oil changes. If you ask me what maintenance has the biggest impact on engine life, I'd say oil is at the top of the list. AutoFacil insists that oil changes are crucial because degraded oil or oil with a low level accelerates wear on all components that work with friction. They also remind us that the oil filter should be changed along with the oil. And on Reddit, a very common idea among mechanics and experienced users is, don't extend the intervals too much. Several comments even recommend being more conservative than the manufacturer when the goal is maximum longevity. My way of explaining it would be like this. If your goal is for your car to last a long time, don't just think about the bare minimum to avoid breaking it today. Think about what's necessary to keep it healthy for many years to come. Habit 2. Change the fluids that almost everyone forgets. This is where the people who just use their cars separate themselves from those who truly maintain it. Because many people remember the engine oil, but they forget the rest. AutoFacil includes gearbox oil and coolant among the most forgotten fluids. In fact, it recommends not going more than 100,000 kilometers without changing the oil in an automatic transmission, even if the manufacturer suggests it's not necessary, and also advises changing the coolant around 80,000 kilometers to avoid overheating and more expensive problems. And this makes perfect sense. Fluids age, become contaminated, lose their properties, and when they stop doing their job properly, they don't always give you enough warning. So, if you want your car to last a long time, don't just think about the engine. Think of the engine, transmission, and cooling system as a complete package. Habit 3. Don't ignore noises, leaks, or small faults. This habit seems simple, but it's probably one of the ones that can save you the most money. In the Reddit thread, the most longevity-oriented comment makes a very logical point. As soon as you start ignoring small things, you end up ignoring the important ones too. Another comment adds that you shouldn't let strange noises or unusual behavior from the engine and drivetrain go unchecked. AutoFacil follows the same line of thought and recommends paying attention to unusual noises, turbo whistling, gearbox clicks, or any leaks that appear, because leaving these unattended is the fastest way to turn a small problem into a major repair. The rule here is very easy to remember. If the car changes its sound, its feel, or starts leaking, don't ignore it. Because cars don't usually break down suddenly. Most give warning signs. The problem is, many people don't listen. Habit 4. Change wear parts before they become a gamble. There are parts that aren't changed on a whim. They're changed because waiting too long is worse. AutoFacil specifically cites spark plugs and the timing belt as clear examples. In their guide, spark plugs are considered a reasonable replacement interval around 60,000 kilometers, and the timing belt depends a lot on the car, but may need changing between 80,000 and 210,000 kilometers. That fits perfectly with your experience. If you let a timing belt wear out too long, it's not saving you money. It's bringing you closer to a catastrophic breakdown. And the same goes for spark plugs, filters, and other maintenance items. When they wear out, the car keeps running until it stops running well. Habit 5. Drive smoothly when cold. This point is extremely important, and many people get it wrong. AutoFacil says that one of the keys to extending the life of your car is to drive very smoothly while the engine is cold, especially during the first few minutes after starting. They also recommend smooth driving most of the time, and, whenever possible, more highway driving at a steady speed and less city driving or driving in heavy traffic. Something similar appears on Reddit. Several users recommend not abusing the engine when it's cold and avoiding trips so short that the car doesn't even reach operating temperature. Here's a very common mistake. People hear, don't push the car when it's cold, and think that means leaving it idling indefinitely. No, the idea isn't to leave it idling for 20 minutes. The idea is to start it, let it warm up for a reasonable amount of time, and then drive smoothly until everything is up to temperature. Habit 6. Don't make your car a slave to the city and short trips. Short trips seem harmless, but in the long run, they're hard on a car. On Reddit, it's explained quite well. Short trips encourage moisture buildup in the oil because the engine doesn't get hot enough, and several users recommend that, if possible, the car should occasionally take longer trips to allow it to operate at normal operating temperature. And AutoFacil reinforces this idea by saying that, whenever possible, it's better to prioritize highway driving and constant speed over heavy city traffic. This doesn't mean you can't use your car in the city. It means that if all you use it for is stop-and-go driving, cold traffic cold, you're making its life harder. Habit 7. Watch out for rust before it's too late. Many people think about the engine, but forget about the undercarriage. And that's a huge mistake. Autofossil practically calls it a silent demon, rust. It recommends cleaning the underside of your car from time to time, especially in areas with high humidity or salt spray, because once corrosion really takes hold, there's not much you can do. Your experience expands on this point. If you live in areas with harsh winters, road salt, or coastal environments, washing the undercarriage isn't just about aesthetics. It's maintenance. Because rust doesn't just make you unsightly. It also weakens the vehicle. Habit 8. Use decent consumables and don't skimp where you shouldn't. Autofossil also mentions something that needs to be said directly. Using good quality oil matters, and refueling at larger stations can provide fuels with better additives. It also mentions that there are specific additives that help clean impurities from the fuel system. I would put it this way. There's no need to obsess over buying the most expensive thing, but it is important to stop thinking that all oils, filters, and fluids are the same. When you want a car to go the distance, cheap often ends up being expensive more often than you'd think. Habit 9. Keep a maintenance log. This tip, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated. Because keeping a car in good condition isn't just about doing things to it. It's about knowing when you did them. Your idea of a logbook fits perfectly here, and it makes perfect sense. If you record the date, mileage, and work done, you'll spot patterns, avoid forgetting things, and become much harder to cheat at any mechanic shop. I don't need an external source to tell you this. Anyone who's ever lost track of when they changed the oil, spark plugs, or coolant knows how useful it is to have it written down. And besides, when you eventually sell the car, those records are worth money too. So, what's the most important thing of all? If I had to summarize this video in one idea, it would be this. A car lasts a long time when you don't let it silently deteriorate. That means doing timely maintenance, not extending fluid changes because it'll still hold, not ignoring noises or leaks, driving smoothly when the engine is cold, preventing corrosion from taking hold, and keeping a record of what you do. The combination of proper maintenance, correct driving, and attention to detail is precisely what Autofossil presents as the foundation for exceeding 500,000 kilometers. And the responses in the Reddit thread reinforce the same idea based on real-world experience. Regular oil changes, attention to minor faults, avoiding neglect, and not misusing the car. We'll answer some frequently asked questions. Can a car really last more than 500,000 kilometers? Yes, it can. But it usually doesn't happen by luck, but rather through a combination of good maintenance, careful driving, and prompt attention to minor problems. What's the most important thing for a car to last longer? If I had to choose just one thing, I'd say this. Don't neglect basic maintenance, especially oil, coolant, transmission, and any noises or leaks that appear. How often should I change the oil if I want the car to last for many years? It depends on the engine, usage, and the type of oil, but if your priority is longevity, it's not advisable to extend the intervals too much. The important thing is not to wait until the oil is severely degraded. Do I also have to change the transmission fluid? Yes. Many people ignore this until the transmission starts to fail, and by then it's usually too late. If you really want the car to last, the transmission also needs maintenance. Does driving with a cold engine damage the engine? Yes, especially if you rev it high right after starting. It's best to start the car, wait a reasonable amount of time, and drive gently until the engine reaches operating temperature. Do short trips shorten a car's lifespan? They can. When a car is always driven very short distances, it often doesn't even reach its ideal operating temperature, and that takes its toll over time. Can rust also kill a car even if the engine is fine? Absolutely. You can have a healthy engine and still lose your car due to corrosion on the undercarriage, brakes, suspension, or chassis, especially if you live in humid areas, with salt air, or near the sea. Is it worth keeping a maintenance log? Yes, very much so. It helps you remember to perform services, identify patterns, and know exactly what has been done to the car and when. What mistake shortens a car's lifespan the most? A very common one is ignoring small problems. A leak, a strange noise, or a vibration ignored in time almost always ends up being a much more expensive repair. What maintenance do people tend to forget most often? Besides transmission fluid, many people forget about coolant, brake fluid, differential fluid, and even simple things like checking the alignment or washing the undercarriage. If you'd like, I can integrate these directly into the complete guide so you have it ready. In short, making a car last more than 500,000 kilometers isn't about magic. It's about taking care of the small things before they become big problems. Now I want to hear from you. What habit do you think most extends a car's life? Or, what maintenance do you see almost everyone neglecting? I'll read your comments. Without further ado, I hope this video has been useful to you and you can solve your problem. See you in a next video. Bye-bye.